Hello, and welcome back to Dear Grave Woman, my 30-day series where I am creatively cleaning out my inbox and answering your questions about life, death, grief, and everything in between. Today, we have an email from Jasmine in Atlanta, and her email reads: Dear Grave Woman, my father passed away unexpectedly, and now my siblings and I are arguing about everything from the casket to the music selection and who gets to speak. It feels like we're tearing each other apart when we should be coming together. How do I honor my father without losing my family? Jasmine, first and foremost, I just want to say that my heart and my love and my prayers are with you and your family. As a daddy's girl, I cannot imagine not only the shock and the hurt of losing your dad, but also now it feels like your family is being torn apart. And I have to be very honest with you and say that death does not erase family tensions. And a lot of times it further exasperates and more deeply exposes them. But there are a few things that I'm going to share that I hope will allow you and your family to navigate this journey with a little bit more peace, understanding that you all are walking through very sacred and difficult territory right now. Death does not make people act better or all of a sudden get nice and more easy to work with. A lot of times, death and grief bring out the worst in many of us. And it's important to try to understand or reframe yourself, frame your mindset around what would my dad or what would our dad want in this situation? How would he want us to behave? Would he want us to be fighting? Would he want us to be going at each other? Or would he want us to come together to honor him in a way that is and meaningful? My question to you is: did your dad leave anyone in charge? And if you are that person in charge, perhaps it would be a great idea for you to suggest a neutral facilitator when it comes to making decisions. Whether that's your funeral director, which would be a really great idea because that person should be somewhat experienced and trained in helping you and your family make decisions through the tension, or if it's a grandmother, an aunt, an uncle who you know your siblings may respect or be more willing to listen to and work with, having them come in and kind of have a conversation with you all. Another thing would be to make sure that everyone's voice feels heard. A lot of times, you're not really arguing about the casket, you're not really arguing about the flowers. People are acting out because they don't feel heard. They don't feel like their grief is being seen. They don't feel like it's almost like they feel like, you're not hearing me. I'm hurting. I'm hurting. We throw tantrums. We become children in many high stress circumstances. And so perhaps sitting your siblings down, if not all together in person, if that would be a little bit too volatile, sitting down on the phone or either on like a, what is this, a FaceTime or a whatever type of video call, and giving each person 2 to 3 minutes to really express what it is that they're feeling, the impact that the loss is having, and what they would like to see happen. And once everyone has had their turn to speak, perhaps looking at common threads or common themes within the conversation and pulling from that, ensuring that everyone feels validated, seen, and heard. And I know this sounds complicated. I don't know your family. I'm only speaking from things that I've done that have worked successfully as a funeral director working with families that have tension. Another thing that I've implemented before is a non negotiable list. For example, 1 to 2 things that you feel are essential to your father's memorial, funeral, or just honoring his legacy. And those are things that everyone can agree on. Perhaps if your dad was a veteran, if nothing else, you can agree that you'll have a flag, right? That opens the door for agreements and for communication and for everyone to get on a common page, right? And try that process a couple of times and be willing to bend and be flexible, right? Another thing is, if neither of your siblings are the decision makers, and perhaps there's a mom or a grandma or a wife or someone that your dad has, your fighting is kind of in vain because ultimately that decision would fall on the next of kin. Now, if all of you are his next of kin, go back to the beginning of this video and try a few of those things. Please understand that peace amongst your family may not come during the arrangement conference, during the planning, but it can come afterwards through intention. However, this is something that everyone has to desire. What I tell people, especially the decision makers during the funeral arrangement process, is that you and your family do not have to leave this office or leave this funeral home best friends. But what I would encourage you to do is to find a way to work together with as much peace and patience as possible from one another and with one another so that you can honor your loved one. A lot of the time, it's about taking our personal feelings out of the situation and putting our feelings and our love towards the person who's transitioned that we're attempting to honor at the forefront. I wish I had a magic wand that can make all of this better for you, but unfortunately, I don't. However, I do have prayers, positive energy, and I'm sending love and compassion and just hopes for the best to you and your siblings, not just in this moment, but in the future as well. Thank you so much for writing in. I pray that everything works out for you, and I'll see you tomorrow for the next day.